gentlest of touchdowns by Peter at the controls of the B-17.
No, they don't use the dyes. They only use the white smoke. No, the white smoke.
After this, we'll go in arrows.
The aircraft most famed, of course, as the former mount before the BAE Hawks we're going to see later of the Royal Air Force Red Arrows aerobatic team.
Here they come, with the smoke.
I'm looking just 1 minute. I've seen this yesterday, to be fair, Jake.
My first as well.
It's fine.
Let me know.
What did you go for? It should be in for a row.
But it was also one of the great RAF fast jet trainers of the 1960s, entering service with the Central Flying School in February 1961. And number 4 Flying Training School at RAF Valley on Anglesey was the RAF's primary Gnat operator. And we're very proud to be joined on the Flying Control Committee this weekend by 2 gentlemen, 2 extremely distinguished retired Royal Air Force gentlemen who trained on the Gnat, in the form of Tom Eales and the committee's chairman, Rick Peacock Edwards. Tom, to start with you, how do you remember your first association with the Gnat?
Well, I was terrified of it to start with, because it was so small. You put it on like an overcoat. As soon as it started to move across the taxiway, you were actually flying it. And having just come from the Jet Provost and probably not performed particularly brilliantly, being put in this pocket rocket ship was quite terrifying. But it was fantastic fun, especially with this great long peterhead sticking out of the front. It was like riding a magic broomstick. Absolutely wonderful.
And Rick, I know this is an opinion pretty much shared by you, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's a fantastic aircraft. Got over 1,000 hours on the aircraft. It's a real little sports car. I loved flying it.
And you said yesterday it was an airplane that taught you so much, that was so relevant to flying aircraft such as the Lightning.
It did. It was really brought into service partly to train pilots to go to fly the Lightning. I mean, the swept wing characteristics, the speed was supersonic, just. The instrumentation inside was very much designed to sort of help you transfer to Lightning and other aircraft too. It had so much going through it inside. It was just sort of a dream to fly. So.
All you could see was the back of the pilot's ejection seat and his large head. So in the circuit, you always prayed for a crosswind from the right, so you could look out sideways. And there's a little tiny airspeed indicator up on the left-hand coaming, which gave you speed from 100 to 150 knots. And that was the sector airspeed indicator. And night flying was a complete nightmare, because all the light reflections on this amazing Perspex canopy. So yes, I have mixed memories about instructing on the Gnat.
And not a machine that you would have thought was that suited to the larger pilot, because it's pretty close coupled in the cockpit, isn't it?
It is, but I might add that I was significantly smaller than I am now then.
Thank you, Rick. Rick Peacock Edwards and Tom Eales there, two of our Flying Control Committee, sharing their recollections of this tremendous little Folland aeroplane.